Hello everybody, kia ora, and welcome to this video. In this video I'm going to talk about the astrology of what Saturn is up to at the moment, and that is going to cover the next few months. Saturn has recently moved into the sign of Aries after being in Pisces for a few years. It's been in Aries since May, but on the 1st of September it moved back into Pisces, and it will be there until February. Saturn is bringing seriousness, a sense of duty, sobriety, hard work, and some discipline and reality checks to the Pisces part of your chart for the next few months. And then after that, it's going to go into Aries and bring all of that to the Aries part of your chart. So in the all signs breakdown, I'll talk about Pisces and Aries and what Saturn there means. I'm also going to talk about a little bit about Saturn returns, because they're a really famous transit in astrology, and people have often heard about them who aren't even into astrology. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And I don't know, as you get older, maybe you like Saturn more, but usually Saturn is the baddie of astrology. It's one of the baddies. It's a malefic, and it does bring difficulty and hardship and restriction, but it has some wonderful lessons to teach us. It is a teacher, a master. Anyway, my name is Fiona of Sun and Moon Calendar. I make calendars about astrology using lunar months for Australia and New Zealand. And so my astrology is first and foremost based on the Southern Hemisphere. However, I'm currently touring around the Northern Hemisphere, and astrology comes, well, this form of astrology that I practice, Western tropical astrology, comes from the Northern Hemisphere. Right now, my partner and I are touring in our van through the Dolomites, and we left the Dolomites for September. They're just a really, really wonderful place, but everyone knows about them now, so they can get really crowded. But we're here in September and it's fine. It's great. There are mountains all around me, and maybe at the end of the video I'll try and show you one now through the trees. Hopefully you saw that through the trees. At the end of the video, if it's not raining by then, because it is forecast to rain, I'll pause and then go out of the forest so you can see the mountains. Okay, so that is to introduce myself. So let's first talk about Saturn return. Okay, so wherever Saturn is in your chart on the day of your birth, that is your Saturn placement, and whatever area of your chart that is, it means that there is that is an area that you might find harder or more restrictive. It might be where you need to learn discipline, or it might be where you are more serious about life in that area. And it slightly depends if Saturn is retrograde or going forward. If Saturn is going forward, which will be for most people, it's more clear, you're just definite, you are disciplined, dutiful, focused, and hardworking in that area. And also in your life you might experience restrictions in that area and just a harder rap in that area, whatever part of the chart that is in your birth chart. My Saturn placement is in my third house, and the third house is teaching and learning. And I do so much teaching and learning in my life because I love learning, but also I am a teacher, and I've taught lots of different things like music, English language, primary school, general teaching. And something I've always found hard is the discipline in classroom teaching that you need. I just kind of I can do it for a while, but then I just can't keep it up. And I think that's because Saturn is in my third house, which is teaching and learning, some like local learning, primary school learning. And Saturn is retrograde in my chart, and that means I don't always see it clearly. And you can look in your birth chart and see if Saturn's retrograde. So I can't always see what's needed in terms of discipline. It also would apply, third house is also siblings, and sometimes I don't know with my sisters when to speak up and be bossy and clear with them, and when to just let them be the boss. Anyway, that's a little theme that comes up sometimes. So wherever Saturn is in your chart, it is an area of restriction, and there's lifelong lessons. Like I've learned stuff with my sisters about how to speak up, and I've learned stuff in my teaching about how to take charge more firmly. And you will have a Saturn placement. Everybody does. Everyone has Saturn. And the Saturn return is a time that it doesn't even matter where in your chart Saturn is. Saturn return happens for everyone between the ages roughly of 28 and 30. It's building up from age 28. I'm going to pause and turn the camera because it's very bright on my face there. Yeah, when you're around between age 28 and 30, but most people say sort of 29, 30, even going a little bit into age 31. Saturn takes that length of time to go right around the Earth, okay? That's the orbit of Saturn as we see it from Earth's point of view. It takes that long to go around all the zodiac signs and back to wherever it was when you were born. And when you reach that age, you will find you talk to anybody and ask them what was happening for them at age 28, 29, 30, and there'll be some big change that happened in their life, either happened to them, but more likely came from them where they made a big change. And it's a time in life where you realize perhaps that you're not a child anymore, and life doesn't last forever, not this lifetime, that this earthly existence doesn't last forever. And there's like this waking up and realizing, oh wow, if I want to have that career, I need to get it started, I need to do this or that. If I want to live in whatever country, I need to decide and I need to do that. And these are the kinds of things, like just in people I've talked to that they've done with Saturn return is people living in a bus decided to build a house. That was one example. For myself, I was living overseas and doing this and that, and I just had this really strong feeling I needed to go home and I needed to work and get a real job. I really wanted to do that. But it can also be you've got a real job and you're just going along, your hair's cut, you're doing your job, you're earning your money, and you realize, whoa, is this all there is to life? If I want to make more of life, I've got to do that myself. So Saturn, age 29 or so, brings this really big wake-up call where you realize because of the limitations of life that you need to get sorted and do the stuff that you feel you need to do. And there can be a strong sense of duty and responsibility, and really it's a coming to adulthood. And we also have another Saturn return when we're 58, so around that time. That will be in a few years for me, maybe like 3 or so years. And that is another time where there can be a real wake-up call about the limitations of life, the length of life expectancy, maybe what you need for retirement and what you need to do, and to make life go well over the next 30 years. Okay, and some people would live till their third Saturn return, which would be around the age of, oh, my maths, like, would it be under 9? Yeah, like 87 or so. I paused while I worked out the maths. Yeah, late 80s. That's another Saturn return, and I don't know heaps about that one, but it would be the same. Maybe it could be like making decisions about end of life, how you want to be if you're alive for another 10 years or so, how you want to be living, changes of home. My parents have both, one's just coming into that and one is in it right now, and there's definitely been big changes for them. Yeah, so that's the Saturn return. I wanted to mention that because it's a really big life moment, especially that age 29, around there. Okay, and but as Saturn goes around our chart, it spends about 2.5 years in each sign, and wherever it is in that part of your chart, whatever part of your chart that it's in, that is 2.5 years of being restricted, finding out you have to be more responsible and serious and dutiful and hardworking, okay, during that time. And for example, a few years ago, Saturn was going through Aquarius. That was my 12th house. And the 12th house can be about sleep and retreat. And I found that my areas of retreat in life became very, very hardworking. And also, I didn't get the chance to sleep. Like, I was really low on sleep. I was working so hard, not getting enough hours to actually go to bed and sleep. And also, that's 12th house is a house of dreams. I basically feel like I didn't have any dreams that time. I couldn't remember any dreams when I woke up, and I think it was because I wasn't sleeping long enough. That's one example. And I'll probably give you some other examples as I go through your chart. Okay? So talking about dates, I've got them written on my hand. Saturn moved into Pisces on March in March of 2023, and it has been in Pisces for nearly that whole time. And so during that time, the Pisces part of your chart was where you were facing more responsibility and seriousness, duty and expectations and restrictions and hardship. Okay, by hardship meaning things were hard, it's not easy, nothing was straightforward in terms of the Saturn journey that you were on. Okay, and then at the end of May, towards the end of May this year, Saturn moved into Aries. And I would say, like, you know, Pisces is my first house. So that was Saturn going through my first house during that time. And I did find things have been lighter since Saturn moved into another sign. But whatever Aries is in your charts, whatever house, part of life that Aries falls in your chart, has become something more serious and restrictive, something you need to think about more and grow up and do adulting in the Aries part of your chart. And that is until the 1st of September. So Saturn has been in Aries from towards the end of May this year to the 1st of September. Then during that time, it went into retrograde motion, and it has now, from the 1st of September, just moved back into Pisces. And it's going to be in Pisces until February, mid-February. Okay, so there's that's like this last hurrah, or this last, it's not a hurrah. Saturn's not about hurrahs and fun and celebration. Saturn is about jobs. Okay, so there's some last jobs or serious work and working out to be done in Pisces. Okay, and then in mid-February, just checking the date, 13th, 14th of February, Saturn is moving back into Aries, and then it's going to stay in Aries until 2028, April of 2028. I've got the dates written on my hand. So that part of your chart is where you will be serious for the next 2 years. So I'll talk about that in the all signs breakdown. One more thing I'm going to mention, and that is straight away after Saturn goes into Aries in February, following that, and I think the date is the 21st of February, Saturn and Neptune come together for their great grand conjunction, which is unusual. Like, it doesn't happen very often, every 33 years or something like that, at 0 degrees of Aries. And that is a really big world one because it's combined with the mini grand trine. I've been talking about it a lot. So there's also some great grand new start in Aries happening then that's going to unfold over the following few years. And Neptune is about idealism, romance, glamour, imagination, visualizing wonderful, beautiful, mystical things. And Saturn is about reality, and Saturn is going to help build some of those dreams, okay, slowly and realistically and with hard work and discipline. That's Saturn. So Saturn is often known as the great master, the great teacher. It teaches us things in ways that are not easy, just by like authority, in authoritative ways. Like, there can be no escape from Saturn. You just have to do the work at times. with a Saturn transit. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Now I'm going to go into the all signs breakdown. I'm going to start from Aries and then go around the zodiac from there. If you are Aries, sun, moon or rising, but especially Aries rising, Saturn has just come into your chart from May of this year and until the 1st of September. And then Saturn is going to be in your first house. This is all your first house, okay? So Saturn's going to be there from February until April of 2028, okay? And when it's your first house, it's everything about you, okay? So it's all of your relationships, because everything stems from the first house. All of your important areas of life. It affects your career, your home, your family, your partner, your partners, your friendships, everything, okay? And it's a lot to do with your identity. And Saturn is going to make changes. Saturn is going to make you grow up in a lot of ways, all right? And when I was talking in the introduction about Saturn returns, in a way, you might not be 29 and you might not be 58 and you might not be 87, but or near those ages, but when Saturn goes through your first house, it is a little bit like a Saturn return. You're going to be changing who you are in the world, and you are likely to by the end of it, feel older, feel more grown up, feel more responsible. During it, you're likely to feel heavier, and you're likely to feel like less fun, and like there's restrictions. Sometimes you might feel like you're between a rock and a hard place. And I'm sorry to say this. I've just had Saturn going through my first house. There is hardship with it. One of the ways it played out for me was that I had so many people needing me in my life from all directions, and it was absolutely impossible to be there for all of them, and I had to make horrible, hard choices about who I was there for. And that's happened with different versions of it right the way through. So that was the way it affected relationships, okay? I've also felt older. I felt I made a decision with Venus retrograde to let my hair grow grey, and I feel now at the end of it, I'm happy about that. Like, I'm more ready to embrace the getting older part. And whatever age you are, whether you are 5 years old, 15 years old, 35 years old, or 85 years old, you're going to feel older with this transit. And then by the end of it, fun will come back. There'll be fun during it, but it's going to be restricted. After that, fun will come back, lightness will come back, and you will have more clarity. Where you've made hard decisions, there'll be reward for those. And this is where Saturn is a great teacher and can bring wonderful rewards. Saturn cares about results, okay? In the meantime, from the 1st of September, which is already past, of course, it's early September, until mid-February, Saturn has moved back into your 12th house, okay? And so there's a little bit of a break from some of that heaviness that's going to be in your first house and on your body and all that. But in your 12th house, it might mean the 12th house is about retreat and escapism and dreams, imagining things, foreign travel, connections with things that are out of sight, escapism. All right, so there might be one last job to do in your 12th house. It might be where you might need to get more organized about where you escape and retreat in the world and put some structure to that. It might be that there has been too much escaping, and you know, you will have been getting lessons in that if there's been addictions or just too much avoiding hard decisions. Then the next 3 or 4 months until February is going to bring that back. But mostly you've got a little bit of a reprieve, and then you've got Saturn in your first house. It's going to bring some lessons that might be hard, but you will be a better person with more clarity and more taking life into your own hands in an adult way by the end of it. All the best, Aries. If you are Taurus, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Taurus Rising, Saturn from May until September and then from February until 2028, Saturn is going to be in your 12th house, all right? And when Saturn goes through your 12th house, that's a little bit of a quieter time. The 12th house is about how you retreat from the world and how you escape from the world. It's also about foreign travel or connections with people from overseas, or connections with people who are not living in the center of society, like maybe they're in hospital or hospice, or they've separated themselves from the world, or the world has made them separate in some kind of ways, even dispossessed people. But also the 12th house can be about big endings in your life and letting go. And with Saturn there, over the next it's also about escapism. So over that next couple of years with Saturn in your 12th house, there's going to be restrictions on your imagination and your dreams and your life of retreat and escape, and maybe restrictions on travel, if that's what you do, especially travel to distant places or places where you're away from your normal life. When I had Saturn going through my 12th house recently, which you might have heard me mention in the introduction, I found I really didn't have a lot of I was retreating. That was the COVID time, so I was at home a lot, which can be a place of retreat. I was away from people a lot, but I was working my butt off the whole time because I was doing online work till all hours in the morning, and I was in an escape, a place of retreat and escape and away from the world, but working so hard. And as I said, I didn't get a lot of sleep and I didn't get a lot of dreams. Okay, so that might be what you're having over the next couple of years. But just for now, from the 1st of September until the middle of February, Saturn has just gone back into Pisces. And that's where Saturn was from March of 2023 until May this year. Okay, so that means Saturn has been going through, and now there's this final job to do in your 11th house. Pisces is your 11th house. And this is a house of rewards from work, maybe financial rewards, all the rewards that come through your reputation and status in the world. Not actually your reputation and status, but the rewards that come from that, the perks or the good networking that can come from that. And the 11th house is also about your friends, your friendship groups, and groups that you belong to, that you choose to belong to. Not so much your family, and not so much your neighborhood, but groups you've chosen to belong to. And the 11th house can also be about long-term goals, and the goals that you're working towards over a number of years that are big picture goals. And you've had restrictions in those over the last 2.5 years with Saturn being in Pisces. And it might be where you've had to get more sober-minded, more serious, more dutiful, and more responsible and more realistic about your goals, about the rewards that you get from your job or your career, and about your friendship groups. It might be that you've realized over that time that your friendship groups, you don't want the lightweight friends anymore, just the joviality all the time. Maybe you want more serious connections in your friendship groups. And maybe there's been something with your work where you've realized, I love that career, I'm getting a lot of popularity through it, or I'm getting a lot of fun or a lot of money, but it's not meaning enough for me anymore. And you have to look at things, so you have had to look at things soberly and realize this. And maybe you've made some changes over the next few months until February. It's a last chance with Saturn there to really show up to what change might be needed in any of those areas, look at it soberly and maybe make some hard decisions about it. But mostly, yeah, you've got Saturn going into your 12th house, and you've got that great big new start with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in there in late February next year. So that's for you, Taurus. All the best for it. If you are Gemini, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Gemini Rising, Saturn has been in the last few months, and then from February onwards has been in will be in Aries, and that is your 11th house. Okay, so over the next from February onwards until 2028, Saturn is going to be going through your 11th house. The 11th house is a house of big friendship groups and networks, and these are the friendship groups and networks that you choose to belong to. They're not the ones you were born into. And it's also a house of the rewards from your work, so like the financial rewards, the money that you get from your career, and also any rewards or perks that you get through your status and reputation, or through anything to do with your career, the rewards from your career. And it's also about long-term goals and big picture, big goals, 10-year plans and all that, even if you're not really aware of them, but things that you aim for in life in a large and long-term way. And over those next 2 years, and you've had a taste of it since May until early September, you've had a taste of it, but it's going to be big time from February. Saturn is going to be making you really look at those things, your friendship groups, your long-term goals, your rewards from your work, seriously and rationally, and showing up to the reality of the situation. And you will need to make some hard decisions and work hard. And by the end of it, there'll be some hard stuff and maybe some letting go to do. But in the end, you will realize, oh, I've really made a lot of progress. Not easy, but you will have rationalized a lot to do with your life in that area. Okay. And in the meantime, before that, you've had Pisces. Saturn has been in Pisces since March of 2023, and that is actually your career house. So you've already been dealing with some of that career stuff. Saturn over the last, since March of 2023 until May this year, was probably putting some real hard stuff and restrictions and duty, discipline and hard work in your house of career. And you've probably come a long way with facing up to reality in your career and maybe making some hard decisions. And you've got a final burst of that from now, early September, until mid-February, where there's maybe one more job to do, some more stuff to sort out, and maybe just because you realize something, oh no, that's not finished, I need to do this more and better, or people are coming at you with problems that you need to resolve, and that's affecting your career. So just a final burst of it, and then it's moving on to your 11th house, which I actually would say will probably be easier for you, Gemini. So all the best for that, Gemini. If you are Cancer, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Cancer Rising, Saturn from May this year until the 1st of September was in your 10th house of career. Aries is your 10th house of career, and it's going to be again from mid-February right until 2028, until what year was that? April of 2028. Okay, so your career house is going through some serious reality checks in that time, and it doesn't just have to be the career where you're paid in the world. It's also, if you're not actually in paid work at the moment, it's like your reputation, your status, anything that you're doing where you're known for it in the world, but also where you're leaving a legacy, you're leaving something behind for the world even after you leave, whatever it is. Okay, so over that next 2 years until 2028, and with a taste of it since May this year, there's going to be some hard stuff with your career and some restrictions and hard work at the end, slowly but surely, will come rewards, and but there might be some real having to be really sober and realistic and adult, and make some hard decisions that like decide things that maybe people are not happy with, or you're not happy with, and also hard work and maybe problems coming up that you need to solve and work hard to resolve. Saturn is like, it's earthy, it's like hard rock, okay? But from the 1st of September until mid-February, Saturn is going back into your 9th house, and it's actually been in your 9th house, which is Pisces, since March of 2023. So over that time, Saturn's been doing all of that in your 9th house. So it's the 9th house is about foreign travel, exploration, expansion of the mind. It's actually a really optimistic house of abundance, really, and definitely travel and bounding off to do adventurous things that feel expansive and fun and exciting. All right, Saturn has been restricting that over the last 2 or 3 years, okay, while it's been in Pisces. So maybe there's been some hard decisions to make, maybe you haven't been able to travel and you've wanted to, or maybe it's been something in your higher learning, like university learning. Maybe you've even been doing a course and found it much harder than you realized, or maybe you've wanted to study and you haven't been able to because of other expectations in your life. That is happening again. You've had a little bit of a break from it since May, and then from early September until mid-February, there's one more last burst of Saturn in that 9th house of yours, of foreign travel or higher learning or philosophizing about life, or your also 9th house is your belief systems, and maybe your one little bit of restructuring what you believe in the world, or how you do that, how you systemize that in your mind. Higher learning, philosophizing about the meaning of life, or actually just travel and that expansiveness. One more job, one more time of restriction and maybe problems to solve in that area. Okay, so that's for you, Cancer. All the best for Saturn in Pisces over that next few months, and then in Aries. If you are Leo, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Leo Rising, Saturn from May until early September, and then from mid-February of 2026 until 2028, is in your 9th house of foreign travel, the expansion of the mind through higher learning and through belief systems. So Saturn is going to be making you show up to those parts of life, the parts of life where you feel expansive, exploratory, and believe in higher things like righteousness. You're going to be getting really realistic about those things, and maybe it might be as practical as there'll be some restrictions on travel over the next few years with that, or it might be that you realize like some of that learning that you want to do, or your beliefs or philosophies of life, that hey, there's a problem with these, they don't actually work anymore. Like maybe you're told you can't practice your religion or your spiritual practice, or there's some kind of restriction on it. Or maybe it's that you're just questioning it yourself. You're thinking, hey, this doesn't add up with that. Those two beliefs are incongruous, so they're in conflict with each other, and you need to, that can sound like a little thing, but it might feel like really quite important to you. And you'll be showing up in a more adult way to those areas of life. And you had a little bit of a taste of it from May until September, and then you've got a break from it while Saturn goes back into Pisces. And you've had actually Saturn in Pisces from March of 2023 until May of this year. And then there's a final burst of Saturn in Pisces from this month, September, until February. Okay. And Pisces is your 8th house. And the 8th house is a little bit of a house of mystery. It can be about occult practices. It can be the mysteries of the psyche and our underlying psychological layers. And it can also be about other people's money in your life, whether that's investments or taxes or debts and investments, but also your partner's money. All right. So there could have been restrictions on money coming from other people, like other people's money, how it affects you in your life, usually large amounts of money. There might have been restrictions on that. There could have been restrictions on the ways that you understand your deeper layers of power. Like even power, the 8th house can be about power because it's ruled by Pluto in a way. Pisces isn't ruled by Pluto, but the 8th house is a Plutonian thing and to do with underlying power. Maybe there's been some kind of restriction. Maybe you've been questioning your deep power and having to show up to that and realizing, wow, I give my power away here, there, and or I don't feel powerful in some ways. And what is it underneath? What's going on? And you may have it also can be like where you explore occult practices like astrology, past life regressions, tarot, all of those kind of things, occult. And maybe you haven't been able to practice those for those last few years. You've got one last job or one last time of reality check in those areas, that 8th house area, from now until February. So that will be okay. Saturn will help you show up to those with realism. Maybe there's some problems to solve with your partner's money or something, and then you're through with that, and then Saturn is going into your 9th house, and there could be some restrictions and showing up to reality over the next few years with that. But you will be okay. You will grow in mastery in it. So all the best, Leo. If you are Virgo, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Virgo Rising, Saturn from February 2026 until 2028, and then also you've had it from May this year until just now, like early September. Saturn is in your 8th house. Aries is your 8th house. And the 8th house is about your deep underlying psychological layers, and it's also about your partner's money or investments, other people's money and how they affect you in your life. Large chunks of money usually. And Saturn is also, the 8th house is also about mysticism and occult practices, especially when they're like kind of mysterious and dark and not always accepted by everybody in the mainstream world, like tarot, for example. Okay, so that is what's coming for you from February, and you've had a taste of it from May. And Saturn to that area of your life is bringing like a reality check. Well, because it's a long time, 2.5 years altogether, over and over again, reality checking. So there could be problems in those areas, like maybe if you have a partner, they're not earning any money, maybe there's problems with investments, or inheritances, or it could be that there's something stopping you practice occult practices, or it could be that you realize that you've got some really deep-seated belief in powerlessness, or there's problems with your sense of power, or you're overusing your power. This is like deep layers of inner power. We're talking like kind of like the brainstem, really basic sense of power as a human on this earth. The 8th house has the energy of Pluto, and Pluto is always about the hidden power and, in a way, following the money, and also deep intimacy. Okay, where you're getting really, really, really close, and the underlying layers of connection, but it's through sharing power again, in a way. All right, so Saturn is going to be making you show up to those areas with reality, with hard work. Those areas could be restricted, there could be problems to solve, it could feel hard and grinding, But by the end of it, there will be ways that you can look back and say, no, there have been improvements here, and I did have to be more of an adult and take more responsibility. Okay? And then at the same time, that sounds hard, but actually you've had a harder time, I believe, because Saturn has been going through Pisces, your 7th house of partnership, and of course that is one of the real main areas of life. All right, so Saturn from March of 2023 until May this year, and then again for a final burst from the 1st of September until February 2026. Saturn is in your house of partnership, and so this is like intimate partners, life partners, committed marriage partners, or long-term boyfriend, girlfriend, or but also close friendships where you're on a one-to-one basis working with each other, or a colleague where you work together on a one-to-one basis, or anything where you're working, you and a client, the one-to-one kind of relationships in your life. They have gone through restriction, reality checks, problems, like your partner's bringing problems to the table, and you're having to solve them, and maybe there's not easy ways to solve them. It's like takes hard work, and it takes really showing up to the reality of restrictions in life, and probably not being able to please everybody, and maybe not being able to please your partner, and them not pleasing you. Okay, so you'll be pleased to be part through that, I think, Virgo, and there's one last kind of time of it between now and February, but you'll get through it, and at the end of it you'll be able to look back and think, oh no, I've dealt with that. And you do need to deal with it. You can't escape from it. You need to deal with it and face up to the truth of things, and like you do become a better person for it. So all the best for that, Virgo. And then, you know, you've got that going through your 8th house over the next couple of years, but you'll be okay. Saturn is always about making us learn the hard way and the slow way. All the best, Virgo. If you are Libra, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Libra Rising, well, Saturn from May this year until the 1st of September was in your house of partnerships, your 7th house of partnerships, Saturn and Aries, okay? And then it's going to be in your house of partnership again from February until April 2028, so a couple of years. So you've got a lot of it, all right? And that might mean that there's, you know, when we have the 7th house, it's about one-to-one partnerships, and that's classically is your life partner or husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever you're in a committed relationship with. But it can also be any kind of one-to-one relationship, somebody that you spend a lot of time with as a friend, or you're working on things together. Can be a colleague that you're working with on one-to-one projects, and also a client where you're working one-to-one, or anything about, if there's a lot of clients, anything about that client and provider relationship. All right, so Saturn is going to make you have some wake-up calls, reality checks, and put some restrictions and problems that can be hard to solve, and is aiming and ultimately to help you achieve mastery. Okay, so it's going to help you like grow up and become more of an adult in those areas. Okay, I don't want to assume that you're not an adult now, but there's always some real sobering reality checks with Saturn, and hard work and restriction. Okay, but you'll get through it, and on the other side of it you'll feel more like, oh yes, I showed up to that and I did what I needed to do. Is dutiful. Saturn expects duty, hard work, responsibility, and being real. Okay, but between now, early September, until mid-February, Saturn has actually gone back into your 6th house, and Pisces is your 6th house, and it was in Pisces from March 2023 until May this year, and then it's just having this last burst in Pisces from early September until mid-February. Okay, so the sixth house, and that is where you need to be sober-minded, realistic, hard work, and difficulties to overcome. And that is in your areas of a few things with the sixth house. How you give service in the world, and that can include your daily work that you're paid to do on a day-to-day basis, where you're going every day and giving service, doing tasks. The sixth house is also about how you organize your daily life, and that includes the food that you eat, the exercise that you do, the daily routines, cleaning your teeth, keeping your house clean and in order, keeping your life in order, life admin. So yeah, quite a lot of life admin with the sixth house. So you may have found over the last few years that you've had some restrictions on your daily work, or it's been hard and there's been problems to solve. And there's a final burst of that now, between now and February. Okay, so it just has to be done. And by the end of it, you can look back and think, oh yeah, I am more sober-minded. It's helped me make some hard decisions, and you may need to leave some things behind, and solve problems and put work into solving problems. But in the end, it's all good. All right, so all the best, Libra, and then good luck for Saturn going through your seventh house. It's going to help you really grow up in your area of relationships. If you are Scorpio, sun, moon, or rising, but especially Scorpio rising, well, Saturn has been in your sixth house. So Aries is your sixth house of how you give service in the world. It's your daily routines, daily life habits, routines for health, exercise, nutrition. And it's been in that sixth house from May this year until the 1st of September. And then it's going to be in your sixth house from mid-February until April 2028. All right. And while it's in your sixth house, there's going to be probably problems coming up that you need to solve. And sometimes it's going to feel like you're between a rock and a hard place. You need to solve them. And it means facing up to reality and realizing not everyone can be pleased, and you can't always get ideal outcomes, and often involves discipline and hard work. All right, so it might be that you're really having to work hard at your health. It might be that you're having to work extra hard to keep your house and life organized and in good order. It might be that you're having to work really hard at your job. Okay, your daily work, harder than usual, or there's problems there. It could be that people are being critical of you in any of those areas. All right, but right now, you've got a final burst of Saturn in your fifth house, and from September until mid-February. And before that, Saturn was in your fifth house from March 2023 until May of this year. And you will be likely, I think, very pleased that Saturn is leaving your fifth house, because the fifth house is known as a house of fun. And it's also the house of playfulness, children, creative projects, hobbies, and also entrepreneurial projects. And there's great heartfelt fun and playfulness in the fifth house. But while Saturn has been there, that may have been seriously restricted, and there could have been problems coming up with your children, with your hobbies, just with the ways that you have fun. Maybe you found that all the ways that you had fun before, they have been stopped, restricted, and it's not been a very fun time for you over that last couple of years. Okay, so I think you'll be pleased that that is nearly over. But until February, from the 1st of September, there's a final burst of that restriction. And so in any of those areas, there could be problems coming up, problems to solve, extra hard work to do. Like maybe if it is a creative project or a hobby, you've actually had to work really hard at it. There will be rewards. There will be rewards through the time that you've taken. And I'm going to just pause because there's motorbikes going past. So there will be rewards from the discipline and the time that you take. And yeah, there's just this last burst, maybe some hard work to do between now and February, or some problems to solve. And after that, Saturn will be going into your 6th house, and then you can expect to see some challenges in your daily work and your routines for life, and maybe your health over that next couple of years. But hard work and discipline and being realistic is what is needed. All the best, Scorpio. If you are Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Sagittarius Rising, Saturn from February of 2026 until April of 2028, but before that, from May this year until early September, Saturn is going to be in your 5th house, all right? So your 5th house is a house of fun. It won't be so much fun while Saturn's there. It's a house of playfulness. It won't be as playful while Saturn's there. It's a house of creative projects, hobbies, your children, and it's also a house of entrepreneurial projects at times. It's a house of heartfelt things that you do from your heart with confidence and leadership. And it could be that there is going to be quite a lot of restriction, problems, hard work. Maybe it's your kids growing up, becoming older, maybe leaving you even. Maybe it's like hobbies that you actually need to work really, really hard at in order to progress to the next step in whatever you're aiming for. Maybe entrepreneurial projects that it's not as easy as you thought it was going to be. There are problems to solve, there are restrictions, you need to work hard, and sometimes you have to really have a reality check and think, am I going to continue with this? How am I going to do it? And it's not going to be easy decisions. Okay, so you've had a taste of that since May this year. Okay, and at the end of that time, by the time it gets to April 2028, you can be looking back on those areas of life, your children, your hobbies, your creative projects, and realizing, oh no, I've actually come a long way and the hard work has paid off. Where you've had to make hard decisions and let go of things, then you'll be thinking, okay, yeah, it had to be done. All right, so it's kind of adulting in your world of childlike fun. that's the reality of it. However, before from May this year until before that, you've had a couple of years of Saturn in your 4th house, because Pisces is your 4th house, Sagittarius. All right, and that was from March of 2023 until May this year. All right, and then there's a final burst from now until February. All right, and Saturn in your 4th house has meant that over that time you've had a lot of restriction in your home life. Maybe you've had extra people in your house and it's been hard to work out how to live, or maybe you've had nobody in your house to help you with looking after it or to keep you company. It's been restricted, it's been colder and more serious. Maybe there's been money restrictions and you haven't been able to have as much comfort in your house. And this also can be in your emotionally sensitive life and your intuitive life. All right, so there could have been restrictions there and problems and things that needed to be solved with your homes, your properties, or who you're living with. All right, so there's a final burst of that between now and February, but you just got to work through it soberly and realistically and with hard work and discipline, sense of duty. And then you'll be going on to Saturn in your 5th house, and there might be some hard work in your creative life of fun and play, but you'll be okay, or maybe with your children, but you'll be okay. And it's just that matter of being an adult in this earthly reality that we live in, Sagittarius. All the best. If you are Capricorn, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but especially Capricorn Rising, Saturn is going into your 4th house from February, and it's been in your 4th house from May this year until early September. So you've just had a taster of that, and then it's going to be in your 4th house, home, family, properties, who you live with, family of origin, until April of 2028. So it's quite a long time, and in that time you might find that there's restrictions on your home life and your house. It might be less comfortable, it might feel colder, It might mean that you have to work a lot harder to make things work well in your home. It might be that there's some kind of restriction on the property. Maybe you're renting a place and you're told you have to leave, something like that. Maybe the people that you're living with are more critical, less kind, or have more higher expectations of you, something like that. All right. It could be that there are problems with your family of origin, and all of it, it means you need to approach it, that the lesson is to approach it with soberly and realistically, and being realistic that you can't always have the ideal, we can't always achieve a win-win situation with things. All right. And so letting go of the ideals sometimes, and expecting that there is we can't always get what we want, and also sometimes we just have to work hard for the long term. Okay, so good luck with that, Capricorn. But in the meantime, you've had a couple of years with Saturn in your third house, all right? And that was from March of 2023 until May this year. And now Saturn has just gone back into Pisces, your third house, and it will be there until mid-February. And your third house is about your neighborhoods, it's about your siblings, and it's also about social communications, whether that's talking. It's also about thinking and self-talk and social media. It can also be about small business and trade and exchange and markets and going around your neighborhood. All right, so there's been restrictions in that over the last few years, and there's a final burst from now until February. Restrictions, problems, facing up to reality, hard work and duty, and things not being easy in those areas. Oh, it also can be learning, like schools, things to do with schools and community learning institutions, even local polytechnic. And hand skills as well. Maybe you've been trying to do embroidery and it hasn't been working, would be just a tiny little example. So there's one final job to do in that area, or final problems to resolve in that area, or reality to face up to in your neighborhoods, or relationships with brothers and sisters, or other wider relations, uncles, aunties, cousins, between now and February. And then after that, there's going to be restriction and hard work to do, and discipline and reality checks to do in your home life after that. Capricorn, you are ruled by Saturn, and I think you feel comfortable with Saturn, that you know that things take a long time to build towards. You know that we live on this earth where earth is realistic. We have to face up to the limits of our earthly existence, and I think, Capricorn, you're good at that, and you're going to do really well with anything to do with Saturn. Anyway, all the best. If you are Aquarius, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Aquarius Rising, well, from May this year until the 1st of September, and then from February 2026 until April 2028, so that's over a couple of years, you will be having Saturn in your third house. Aries is your third house. The third house is about your neighborhoods and community. It's about your brothers and sisters and other relations, not so much your parents or your children, but cousins, nephews, nieces, aunties, uncles. And so it's also about learning things, especially learning in your local community, traveling around your local community, trade and exchange. It's also about talk, social media, communication, and self-talk, how we think. All right, there's a lot of third house things, everyday life. It's a very everyday life house of your chart, and there's going to be restrictions there from February onwards, and you've had a taste of it since May until the 1st of September. Restrictions and problems, things that maybe seem like they can't be solved. They can't always be solved by a win-win situation. We can't always achieve the ideal, and we have to face up to that sometimes. And so it's like being sober and realistic in those areas, and expecting to work hard and having to work through crunchy problems where it feels like you're between a rock and a hard place. So you can't please everyone, and you might not be able to please yourself. as well. Yeah. And by the end of it, you'll have a more realistic and adult view of it. But before that, before May this year, you've had Saturn going through your second house, all right? And that was from March of 2023. Saturn has been in Pisces, your second house, until May of this year. And then now, from the 1st of September until February, there's a final burst, like maybe a final job to do. The second house is about what you value. And this can come out in your sense of self-worth and how you look after yourself in material ways. And therefore, it's also to do with your finances and your earnings. And you may have had to really soberly, like realistically look at your finances and your earnings and what you want from life and how can you pay for it. And even like in terms of your possessions and how you value yourself as seen in the possessions that you have and how you look after them and what your, how you look after them, how you look after yourself through that, how you look after your body. The first house is about your body. The second house is about the things that you need to look after your body. Okay, and it can go also not just into the practical aspects of how you look after your body, but also how you adorn yourself even. So beautification, nice clothes, jewelry, doing your hair nicely. And yeah, the luxury items can come under the second house as well. All right, over the last 2 years until May this year, and then again from over the last 2 years from 2023 until May this year, and now with a final burst, there's restrictions on that. So there's been problems to solve, and it might be that you've restructured your finances and maybe need to keep doing that a little bit more until February next year. Or there's some problems that come in with your finances. You've had to realistically look at your finances thinking, do I have enough? Do I need more? Or can I cut down on what I'm earning so that I can have more time to look after my possessions, my home, my clothing, repair things and sew things and mend them instead of not having enough time to do that, whatever it is. There could have also been and be for this final burst some realistic looking at your self-worth and how you're looking after yourself and how you value yourself. Yeah, but then after that, from February onwards, and you've got the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in that third house of yours, so there's some great grand new starts in your third house of neighborhoods and community and siblings, and Saturn's going to help you show up to that, being realistic, hardworking and disciplined with it. So all the best for that, Aquarius. And I will also add, Aquarius, Saturn is your ancient ruler. In the modern astrology, you're ruled by Uranus, which is where you get your brilliant, innovative ideas and creative downloads that you get. You guys are amazing. But your ancient ruler is Saturn. So really you are quite comfortable with the aspects of life where you need to show up, work hard and just be realistic. You've got that rationality and logic about you. So I think you'll do well with this, no problem, Aquarius. Bye for now. And finally, if you are Pisces, Sun, Moon or Rising, but especially Pisces Rising like me. Okay, so we have got Saturn. We've had a taste of Saturn going into our second house, and that is from May this year until the 1st of September. And then from February, mid-February 2026 until April of 2028, Saturn is going through our second house, and that is our house of finances and self-worth, our money, the money that we need to support ourselves and support our bodies in this earthly existence. We live on earth, we have a body, we need to eat, we need to shelter ourselves, we need to wear clothes, so we need money to live. And we are going to have to be realistic and hardworking and disciplined about that over those next couple of years until April of 2028. We've got a great grand new start with Neptune conjunct Saturn in our second house in February, just after Saturn moves into Aries. And so there'll be some big new start with our finances and our self-worth and our positions. But with Saturn there, we need to, like, whatever that new start is, we'll be having to be working hard at it, being disciplined and realistic. Okay. But I do think there's cause for celebration, Pisces, because we've had Saturn going through our first house since March of 2023 until May this year. And I have certainly felt a lot lighter. During that time, of course, you may have found it too. I just found I was working really hard, having a lot of problems, couldn't please everybody, all of life felt heavier, and I felt like I got older and did not have a lot of fun during that time. All right. And now Saturn's come back into our first house for a final visit from the 1st of September until mid-February. And so there's just some more showing up to reality to be done in all of life, because the first house is about all of life, and it's also about our identity in the world, the part that we play in the world, how we show up in the world. And I have certainly changed with that in the last few years, but our job isn't finished yet. There's still more stepping into big girl, big boy pants, being adult, some realism that has to be accepted. Yeah, like I think I said with some of the other signs, often with Saturn we can feel like we're between a rock and a hard place. We can't meet the ideal, we can't please everybody. We have to accept the reality of some situations, that they're not ideal. Okay, but then Saturn will be going into our second house. That's going to be interesting. I've already realized since May, I've had a few times where I've been facing up to, you know, my partner and I are doing this trip, and normally you're supposed to be earning in your 50s so you can save for retirement, and I need to face up to how I'm going to fund my retirement so that I can retire at some stage and not just work till the end. So that's going to be a job for me with Saturn in Aries, and I hope I can figure out something awesome for that, and be prepared to work hard at it, disciplined, dutiful, hardworking and realistic. Yeah, all the best, Pisces. Okay, this is my outro now, but I'm going to add some things about Saturn that I would have liked to have said in the introduction. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn and the ancient ruler of Aquarius. And with that, with both of those signs, they can be very realistic and rational. And Capricorn especially understands that Saturn understands the message, or the beauty and the wisdom of Saturn, which is that, sorry, I'm just putting back on the stool. Okay. The wisdom of Saturn and the wonder and the magic of Saturn is that there is reward for hard work. It's like climbing a mountain slowly, step by step. In the end, you get there, you get to the top of the mountain. There are rewards. It's just that they are down the track, they're down the line, or up the top of the mountain. It's slow. We expect slow returns, and that way Saturn is kind of wonderful because it's predictable. It's like it's not like Uranus, which brings in crazy changes, or eclipses, which bring in crazy changes. And I know when this comes out, it's just about the eclipse, so the topic of my last video, you know, crazy turnarounds. Saturn is slow and steady, and in the end it achieves mastery. It's about old age, but kind of in a wonderful way. It's like a wise elder. It's telling us we have to be realistic. We live on earth. We have to show up to our earthly existence with the physical needs. And there's reward for that when we attend to the hard work and the discipline and the realism and get out of, not be away with the fairies, that's Neptune, not be overly idealistic, that's Neptune and Jupiter. You know, we need to do those as well. Neptune, idealism, Jupiter, expansion, but Saturn is about what is real and concrete, and there's reward and predictability in it, and that is there's wonderful wisdom, I don't know how to, sagacity or something like that. We can be sage when we learn Saturn's lessons, and like wise elders. So kaumatua kuia, to use terms from Māori, te reo Māori. Yeah, so that is really cool. Okay, so I'm going to pause now and try and find a mountain that's not covered in clouds to show you where we are in the Dolomites. It is so wonderful here. Oh, so I'm also going to say, while I'm picking my way back over the forest floor, you know, I've been so serious with this video, but life isn't going to be all about Saturn and its serious times. Yes, we're going to have problems and challenges in those areas, but there's also going to be good things, because we've always got the other planets as well. We've got Venus, which is bringing sweet, just got to jump down. Venus is bringing, you know, sweet connection and lovely pleasures in life, and we've still got Jupiter going round, especially while Jupiter's in Cancer, because Jupiter's happy there, bringing expansion, opportunities and optimism. I'm running out of breath, I gotta stop. So even while we're having hard Saturn transits, there's still other great lovely things going on. We've got the sun shining, bringing its creative energy. So we've got Mercury bringing its wits and communication. Yeah, so always multiple things going on with astrology. Right, stop talking, try and find a mountain. So here we go, some of the Dolomite mountains. Most of them are over 3,000 meters. I'm not sure about these exact ones. Something I've been loving about it is the colors. Like they're kind of gold and pink and grey, of course, like rock. So really lovely. And then conifer forests just leading up to them. Love it. It's so beautiful. Anyway, I am getting homesick, and I am looking forward to seeing the mountains of Aotearoa again. We'll be going back in early October. But anyway, that's my video for this week. Thank you for watching. Bye for now, everybody.